Howdy remarketing fans, and welcome back to this exciting section where we're going to start talking about Google Tag Manager. Now, Google Tag Manager is a really complex software. There's a lot you could do with it, and we're going to cover a good amount of the basics and some more advanced functions, particularly relating to tracking audience, creating segments for your remarketing campaigns. I totally recommend that you take on additional training in Google Tag Manager. There's a lot you can learn and you can really use it to your advantage. But let's just talk about what Google Tag Manager is and what some of the benefits are to using it. What is Google Tag Manager as a software? Google Tag Manager is what we call a tag management system, otherwise known as TMS. There are lots of different tag management systems out there on the web, but Google Tag Manager has quickly become one of the most popular in the market. A tag management system allows you to replace multiple hard-coded tags with one static container tag on your site, and we'll talk about that more in a second. Now, why would somebody want to use Google Tag Manager or a tag management system in general? A tag management system, it allows you to add multiple tags from any vendor. So think AdRoll, think Analytics, think AdWords, think your custom popovers, think your CMS, and we'll talk about some examples how we use it on our site. And you keeps them all in one centralized location. With Google Tag Manager, with the user-friendly interface, you could easily update, edit, change the settings, reconfigure how tags are fired on different pages, remove tags, add tags without ever going into your website code. You only have to go into your website once when you add Google Tag Manager's container, but once you add the container globally, you never have to go back into the actual code to change around any tag that you ever want to have on your site. So it's incredible. It also allows your website to load faster, which is a massive plus. Lots of studies show that as every fraction of a second that you could save, your conversion rate and your user engagement is going to go up and your bounce rates are going to go down because Google is loading all these tags from one centralized location and your website is loading all those tags in a specific firing priority. Google Tag Manager and the technology used to build it ensures that these tags don't compete, they don't interfere with each other, and if there's ever an issue, the container solves that issue with all the different types of tags. And that's a benefit that you wouldn't otherwise have had if you had all your tags loaded on your page separately, hard-coded into the HTML of your site. You also get much greater flexibility and customizability with creating custom triggers and events. We're going to talk in the upcoming lectures about triggers and events and what you could use, but you could really start customizing how these tags work to your advantage and to help you build out better remarketing campaigns. Finally, one of the things that I like about Tag Manager the best, especially as it relates to us AdWords and Google AdWords remarketing practitioners, it really integrates so easily with AdWords remarketing and Google Analytics. Google created a super simple, straightforward system to getting your AdWords remarketing tag on your website, the Google Analytics tag, your AdWords conversion tags. It's really built out really well for obviously these other Google products. Let's talk about an example and just to give you a little bit of a visual representation of what this looks like. So say you have your computer, okay? Now you wanted, without Google Tag Manager, how we did this in the previous step, if you remember in the previous lecture, we added the Google Analytics tag hard-coded into our HTML of our page. Remember, we went into the footer of the site, we went into the header of the site, we used a plugin, but either way, we hard-coded that Google Analytics tag. But now let's say you wanted to add your AdWords tag. You would have to do the same thing. You have to get your AdWords conversion tracking tag or your AdWords remarketing tag, go back into WordPress, go back into Magento, go back into your HTML files via FTP and add this tag separately. And you might be using Facebook's remarketing pixel. So you're going to add Facebook's remarketing pixel back into the code of your site. Let's start talking about our third-party remarketing platforms. AdRoll. That's another AdRoll smart pixel they're going to give you that you need to add to your site if you want to use AdRoll's third-party remarketing system. And we're going to talk about AdRoll later in this course, and we're going to definitely be using AdRoll. And because we're more advanced, we're going to be using Google Tag Manager. We'll use Tag Manager to add AdRoll to the site. But without Tag Manager, hard-coded into the HTML of the page. Now you might be using a software like Crazy Egg, which helps tracks clicks and heat maps and scroll maps. And they're going to give you a pixel. You're going to have to go back into the header, the footer of the page and add that code again. Think about your CRM. What are you using? Zoho and Sitely, HubSpot. They're going to give you a pixel that needs to be on your site to help track visitors and to help. They might alert you when a returning visitor comes to your site to keep email addresses, whatever it may be. You're going to have to go back into the code of the page and add that tag. You might be using a more advanced visitor insight tool like Lead Forensics that hooks up to huge corporate databases that tell you which companies are on your site and what pages they viewed. They're going to give you that tag. You got to go back into the hard-coded files of your site and add that tag itself. You might be using something like Opt-in Monster for custom popover, exit intent popovers, opt-ins, email list, subscriber news, custom forms. The list goes on and on. All these tags you see here are tags that we actually use on our site, and we use almost all of these tags for most of our clients as well. As you can see, and this is probably about half of the amount of tags that we have typically on our website or typically installed on a client's website, depending on what type of advertising you're doing. Think about call metrics. Think about different types of forms, subscriber lists. There's really a lot of different tags if you're using these third-party providers. As you could see, there's a lot of work that goes into having to add every one of these tags hard-coded into the page itself. Now, say for example, you wanted your lead forensics tag to only fire on your Contact Us page. You'd have to go into your custom HTML and you'd have to either remove the tag globally and change it and put it just on that page, or you'd have to write some custom code for that function to work the way you want it to. You might want your ad roll tag to send back custom e-commerce data, like the product ID of the product the customer was looking at, or how many items or the total value added to the shopping cart. With Google AdWords, you might want to add your custom conversion tracking to track e-commerce and to track the value of a completed order. You'd have to go back into the HTML of your website, find those files, and make those changes. And most of those you'd have to know how to program. You'd have to know how to code JavaScript in order for you to do that. Not so once you have Google Tag Manager. With Google Tag Manager, all of these codes are centrally placed in your Google Tag Manager container. Your container is the tag that Google Tag Manager is going to provide you that you put on your website. You're going to need one container tag per website account in most cases. That container is what contains all of these tags that are coming into Google Tag Manager and all of their settings. Every time you update a setting in Google Tag Manager, it automatically updates all those tags on your website and the rules associated with them. So it's really cool, it's really fast, and it's really easy to implement. The tag that you're going to be using is very similar to the Google Analytics tag in terms of implementation. Google Tag Manager is going to give you a tag, and you're going to put it on your website the same exact way we spoke about last time, whether it's in the footer, whether it's in the header. It should be a global tag. Remember that it's going to be a global tag just like that Google Analytics tag was, and you're going to want to have that on every page of your site. So just follow the same instructions. You could add it via a plugin. If you go to the WordPress plugin and type in Google Tag Manager, you'll find simple plugins very similar to what we saw with Google Analytics for WordPress. If it comes to Magento, Shopify, WooCommerce, use the header or footer code injection area to add the Google Tag Manager container. Once again, the beautiful thing is, once that's all done, you never have to go back in and touch the actual code because everything is going to be managed inside Google Tag Manager. It's very, very, very cool. So Google Tag Manager, it gives you that user-friendly, non-coding interface where you manage all your tags and have the ability to edit and configure all these different settings and customizations. So now if you wanted your Google AdWords conversion tag to track e-commerce data, it's really easy. All you got to do is make a few changes, non-coding oriented inside Google Tag Manager. If you want your Facebook remarketing smart pixel to only fire on certain pages, really easy. If you want your Facebook remarketing pixel to only fire when somebody clicks a sign up for my newsletter button and you only want to remarket to those people in a separate audience, really easy to do using Google Tag Manager. There's lots of cool stuff. I'm excited to show you how to use Google Tag Manager to our advantage. In the very next section, we're going to go into our Google Tag Manager account. We're going to get our container. We're going to make sure it's on our site. We're not going to go through all those steps because we did it the exact same thing for Google Analytics, but we're going to create our container and start really getting into some of those advanced techniques like I promised you in the beginning with scroll depth tracking, video play tracking, sending back custom events into Google Analytics, and then finally, we're going to start creating these audiences and build out our super profitable remarketing campaigns. Thanks for watching this one, guys, and I'll catch up with you in just a few seconds in the very next lecture. Talk to you soon.